Almost forgot my mic. I feel like it's been forever. Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Garrett Smith, the nutrition detective around these here YouTube parts. And yeah, I feel like it's been forever since I've done one of these. I'm doing it today without Joe. Joe had some personal stuff he had to deal with today, so Joe is not with me. So I'm not doing the Streamlabs thing where I'm posting the the links and the showing the screen and sharing and all that. So sorry. I'm going to be back next week with a new computer that'll run faster, and then Joe will figure it all out, and we will get going again with showing the sharing screen and stuff. So I'm going to be so deal with it today. First, for those of you who don't know, all my links are down in the information below, and you can follow me on all the social media. If you are interested in the email course, The Madness of Modern Nutrition, that is the website's madnessofmodernnutrition.com. So let's get into it today. Let me read a testimonial first. This was posted in the Love Your Liver Network. Pretty good one here. And yeah, so here we go. He said, hi, Dr. Smith. Here is my 1-year Love Your Liver testimonial. Here we go. Please feel welcome to use the following 1-year testimonial on a live stream. It would be an honor. My whole life, I suffered from major depression and self-diagnosed chronic fatigue disorder. Actually, let me move this over to the other main screen here so I don't have to turn because I'm not sharing that screen. Anyway, so we have, my whole life, I suffered from major depression and self-diagnosed chronic fatigue disorder, sometimes sleeping up to 20 hours a day in my teens and 20s. In an attempt to self-medicate, I picked up some drug addictions, and for the last 10 years have been on methadone maintenance for opiate addiction and dexedrine for the chronic fatigue/depression. In the last 4 months, I have cut the dose of my methadone to around 60% of my original dose and cut my dexedrine to 1/3 of my original dose. Within the next year, I hope to be off of both of them for good. The absolutely incredible thing is that instead of feeling awful like I would have if I tried the same thing 2 years ago, I continue to feel better and better. That was all in caps, just so you know. Despite tapering off these drugs, I have no withdrawal symptoms and no additional fatigue symptoms. Methadone is supposed to be extremely difficult to wean off of, if not the most difficult next to benzos. Words cannot describe how incredible such a thing is. This makes me heavily consider the idea that much of what we commonly consider to be essential to addiction is caused directly by toxicity, and that more of the neurological damage thought to be inflicted by drug abuse is indeed reversible if you provide your body with the minerals necessary and, most importantly, protect it from toxicity. Some more huge wins. My whole life, I had daily headaches, which have massively improved, and I'm at the point where I have them around once every 2 weeks to a month. Anytime I would partake in any strenuous activity or stressful event, it would trigger an immediate headache. This is not the case anymore. In fact, I drove to and from Queens to New Jersey and helped my uncle move for 5 hours and arrived at home with no headache. Such a feat is unthinkable for me. Depression massively improved. Anxiety massively improved. Mental fog massively improved. Body aches improved. My tendency towards misery, anger, frustration, and general disposition are all significantly improved. These are many of the things that used to steer me towards drug use, and to learn they were likely caused by cholestasis is something I'm still coming to terms with. I'm not even sure addiction is a disease anymore. Maybe it's just one expression of toxicity. Used to poop twice a week because of methadone, and now I go 6 days a week, a huge win for anyone on methadone. If you've ever taken any painkiller for a surgery, you will likely recall that opiates stop you up like nothing else on this earth. I probably poop more than anyone else in the entire clinic. I am very proud of this one. Keratosis pilaris improved. Now, I'm going to do an aside here. Just know that in the research, they say keratosis pilaris, the chicken skin, the bumps on the back of your arms, typically, is a vitamin A deficiency. It is not a vitamin A deficiency. It is vitamin A toxicity. And this is just another example of the duration paradox in action. Okay, so continuing. I am making small gains in my workouts for the first time in my life as well. I can also generally finish a workout without a headache, which is what I had always stopped me from exercise in the past. Reduced sensitivity to sunlight in my eyes. Used to feel like my eyes couldn't handle a normal summer day, same as department store lights and school lighting used to be extremely uncomfortable for me. This continues to get better over time. Remaining issues. So this is 1 year on the Love Your Liver program. This is not working with me, okay? As of February, my testosterone is still extremely low, below normal range. However, I do believe that once I am completely off of these medications, that my liver may begin to handle the load of hormones easier and we may see these levels rise. Still battling toenail fungus, but I've almost them, but I'm going to try increasing to 200 to see if hair test now, though, to see my current levels before doing so. As of February blood work, my serum copper is still extremely high, and hopefully my next blood work will show improvements on these levels. As of February, my serum zinc is still below Dr. Smith's range. Still low libido and still sexual dysfunction. I have hope for the first time in my life that these issues may improve in the future and that I will be able to find a lady to start a family with as a result. Thank you so much, Dr. Smith and Grant Generou, for your incredible contributions, and thanks to Josh Getzko for showing me your work. Okay. Pretty cool, right? Pretty cool testimonial, helping with many, many, many things. Now, he said he's still very copper toxic, serum copper, and his serum zinc is still low. Now, I want you to understand, plasma zinc is actually, I believe, a higher number than serum zinc. So if your serum zinc is low, you're even lower than what I want. So that's just an important thing to know about these labs. So yeah. So when we're talking about libido and we're talking about the testosterone, we're talking about all this stuff, especially, I mean, it's not good for women, it's not good for men, but especially the low zinc in men and the high copper in men is really going to cause hormone problems. And the molybdenum to run your ALDH system, which I just posted on Twitter today about aldehydes and retinaldehyde, vitamin A as an aldehyde, and autism. This is all connected. So let me go into the next testimonial. If any of you have had improvements similar to this gentleman's, please feel free to post in the chat if you're here right now live. And if you're not here, post in the comments later. Please don't forget. I want to tell you guys, okay? This is very, very important. We were growing. This channel was growing quite well. Our new viewers has dropped to about half of what it used to be. I'm not going to say why, but if you want this to spread and you want this to grow, I need you to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with other people. We'll put it this way. The website is not helping us anymore. So think about that when you're sitting there and you can X out of the chat and you can like the video and you can share it on your social media or whatever. Please do. If you want to share the Rumble links, that's great. Just know that until things are really out of whack here, this is the best place to share it from. So this is just a quick, I'll just read it over here. This is a quick testimonial I just got today. Since going low vitamin A on 5/22/23, so that is May 22nd, 2023, that Mike said, so since going low vitamin A on May 22nd of this year, that Mike tipped me off to, and at David's suggestion, I stopped allopurinol on, what is that, July 11th, 2023. Right? Allopurinol is a lifelong drug for control of uric acid and gout. As of today, 9/4/23, so September 4th, 2023, my gout is essentially gone, and the joints in my toes have not felt this good in 20 years. Amazing, in all caps. Okay? Vitamin A toxicity, if you have gout, is a major cause of your gout. I've been over this before on live streams. Let me just go and find the there we go. Now it's moving. Let me go find the Mawson studies. These are not hard to find. Although, I swear, you want to know what's funny? I can hardly ever find the Stephanie Seneff paper that goes over how retinoic acid, or how glyphosate slows down retinoic acid vitamin A detox. That is so hard to find on PubMed now. Weird that it's so hard to find. I can find her other papers just fine. But the one that talks about glyphosate slowing down vitamin A detox, now that is very difficult to find unless it takes me about 5 searches to remember the terms that one has to use. So here we have gout and vitamin A intoxication. Is there a connection? There's that link in the chat. And then let me find the other one. Hypervitaminosis A, toxicity, and gout. And there's that one. Yes, vitamin A is absolutely connected to gout. So now that we've done this, I see the super chats from you, Pi Potkenhu. I see him. I'm going to I want to do this live. So I did not assemble studies on bile as the cause of GERD or acid reflux. I want to start this out real quick with the idea that conventional medicine has, that they put you on meds for, that too much stomach acid is the cause of your acid reflux. I just want you to think about that on its face. Okay. Your stomach is the one organ in your body that is purposely designed to manufacture and hold and be protected from stomach acid. The one place in your body that is designed for stomach acid is your stomach. So does it make sense that stomach acid somehow is now out of control and causing your stomach problems? No, it doesn't make any sense. Now, and then some people in the alternative world would say that it's actually your stomach acid, the pH is too low. I'm sorry, the pH is too alkaline. It's not acidic enough to close down the lower esophageal sphincter at the top of your stomach. It's not enough. So you have to have their idea is that you need a certain amount of acidity in your stomach to shut the valve at the top of your stomach so you don't have acid stomach contents, whatever, burp up your esophagus and then cause GERD. Okay, so some people are saying it's too much acidity. Some people are saying it's not enough acidity. Well, here's the first question we'll get into. Is your stomach designed for bile? No, not at all. You're not supposed to have bile going up into your stomach. Does bile eat holes in things? Yeah. I've been over studies showing that bile is the cause of leaky gut. Bile eats away your bile ducts. Bile eats away the liver cells that make it. And what I'm going to show you today is that bile is connected to causing ulcers in your stomach, which is just eating holes in stuff, right? So we have that. Bile as a whole is also alkaline. So for the alternative community that will say that your stomach is not acidic enough and that's the cause of your acid reflux because it's not triggering this to shut, could bile make your stomach less acidic and not cause the lower esophageal sphincter to close? That makes sense, right? And then when people vomit, do they see bile coloration in their vomit? Yeah. So this all makes sense. I'm beginning to think that sore throats are just a silent form of reflux. Sore throats is just bile coming up into your throat and irritating your throat. And it's funny that it happens when you get sick or you get a cold or the flu. And around here, we talk about that as being just a massive systemic, prolonged bile dump. And Anthony Mawson went over this on that little virus problem that we've had recently. So let me get into this. Let's go. It's going to take me a second to type. We're going to go bile gastroesophageal reflux. And we are searching on PubMed today. Let's see if we got any obvious ones. Let's start here. We have a paper called Bile Reflux in the Constellation of Gastroesophageal Reflux Disease. Okay. I'm just going to read this whole abstract because it's fairly short. Let me put this in the chat. But does any doctor ever talk about bile in terms of acid reflux? They never talk about it. Toxic bile theory is something that is way over most practitioners' heads. They can't even begin to comprehend. And a lot of people, that people are like self-toxifying themselves. Okay, they're doing it from themselves, right? Most of us, if you think about it, we destroy our own selves, right? We make choices, we do things to ourselves that we destroy ourselves. Well, what if we think of this as the liver's holding all these toxins, and then we are kind of poisoning ourselves? And as you heard in that testimonial earlier, as we stop poisoning ourselves from multiple angles, we stop wanting or needing as much toxins in. So here, let me just read this again. This is bile reflux in the constellation of gastroesophageal reflux disease. I'm going to read the whole little abstract because it's short. Gastric acid and bile acids are a particularly noxious combination when they interact with the mucosa of the upper intestinal tract. There is a critical pH range between 3 and 6 in which bile acids exist in their soluble, unionized form, can penetrate cell membranes and accumulate within mucosal cells. At a lower pH, bile acids are precipitated, and at a higher pH, bile acids exist in their non-injurious ionized form. Experimental, clinical, and immunohistochemical studies show that acid and bile reflux are increased in patients who suffer from GERD, are the key factor in the pathogenesis of Barrett's esophagus, and possibly are related to the development of esophageal adenocarcinoma. I'm pretty sure that's just the long term for esophageal cancer. Okay. So, and some people, we have a lot of people whose teeth improve as they fix. So one of the things I want to set you guys up with this. Some people, as they go through the program, and I don't hide things. Everybody here who's been around me for a long time knows that I don't hide things from people. I don't put a nice shiny BS rainbow coat on things so that everything about this program looks good. Because the realities of what we're doing is that we are trying to basically take the radioactive waste that your liver has stored. Like what I mean is toxic metals, vitamin A, vitamin E, all B6, as some people are already talking about. We're trying to take all these toxic, nasty things that your liver stores using choline. Never forget, fat-soluble toxins are stored in your liver with choline. We're trying to get all these out of your body. And as I say, it's a poison on the way in and it's a poison on the way out. Gosh, can transporting radioactive waste, if it spills, cause problems? Yes. So if you don't do the detox right, or you try to push too hard, you can spill the toxic waste along its way out. So don't do this. Don't push too hard. I talk about this all the time in the program. But let's just go over this. Gastroesophageal reflux disease and dental erosion, the role of bile acids. So let me go over this paper real quick. So they're obviously talking about GERD causing teeth problems. The other thing, here's an important thing to know, and I've shown it before, vitamin A is in the saliva. Especially if you have toxicity, bile acids are in the saliva. I went over this a couple of live streams ago. What color are bile acids and vitamin A as a general rule? They're yellow. What color do people not like their teeth to turn? Yellow. What color are bitter compounds in nature very commonly? Yellow. Weird. People don't want their teeth to turn yellow. Now, imagine this. How could vitamin A and bile and these other toxic bitter compounds, berberine, curcumin, these other things, get into the mouth? Well, they could get there because the saliva is made from the blood. So if your blood is running a bunch of bile around in it, cholestasis, toxic bile leakage, toxic bile theory, that's what we talk about here. If you got a bunch of bile in your blood, you got a bunch of vitamin A in your blood, and you got these other yellow bitter toxins in your blood, they're going to come out into, some of it's going to come out into your saliva. That's one way your body tries to get rid of it, or it just happens because it's just, I think it's osmosis. Is that the right term? Anyway, it just comes in there. Then you could have reflux coming up from your actual digestive system, from your stomach and your esophagus into your mouth, like I just talked about with sore throats. So these things could get into your mouth and then they marinate your teeth, and then you get yellow teeth. Okay. So let's go over this one. So again, gastroesophageal reflux disease and dental erosion, the role of bile acids. So they're talking about GERD, gastroesophageal reflux disease, gastro, G, esophageal, E, reflux, R, disease, D, GERD, acid reflux. And they're talking about the role of bile acids. Okay. Let's see. Let me see who they got in it. So they're identifying the bile acids in the saliva of patients with and without gastroesophageal reflux disease and evaluate their effect on tooth surface. So let me remind you, there's two big things that we're going to, even before I get into this paper, there's the amount of bile going in a place, and then there's the recipe of the bile, the composition of the bile. Which bile acids are in the bile? What other toxins are in the bile? Okay. So we have results. Salivary bile acids were analyzed from 22 GERD patients and 40 controls. The salivary amount of taurocolic acid was greater than glycolic acid in both GERD patients. Both GERD patients? They had 22 of them. Oh, in both GERD patients and controls. The salivary amount of taurocolic acid was greater in controls than in GERD patients. Dental erosion was more prevalent in GERD patients than in controls. In the GERD presence, the amount of glycolic acid, glycine bound to a cholic acid, okay, was greater in patients with dental erosion. So, for those people out there who are immediately saying they love glycine, like if glycine helps you feel better, that's great. That means it's changing your bile acid for the better. If glycine makes you feel bad, don't do it. I don't care what the internet says. Because glycine and taurine, as they're talking about here, they only looked at 2 bile acids. The most I've seen in a paper is 50. There are 55 different bile acids that have been discovered in humans. And then there was a 56 where they had neonatal, like newborns who were going into septic shock, and they found a totally new bile acid. So they're looking at 2. And they're going to make general statements on the bile recipe based on 2 different bile acids. And they found more glycolic acid in the recipe of the bile of the people who had GERD. And they're still finding it in everybody. What I'm telling you is, so they're going to say these people didn't have GERD and these people did. That doesn't mean that the people who didn't have GERD are healthy, right? How many people do you think they could get for a study that are actually totally healthy? How many totally healthy people do you know? Any? If you really look at it, you probably don't find anybody. Ben, I'm just going to answer your question real quick because Ben did a super chat. Thoughts on oligoscan as a diagnostic tool? Garbage. Waste of time, waste of money. That's my opinion of it. There's no research on it. If they're making so much money and they're so great, they need to actually do some. I don't care about white papers. White papers by companies like the liquid zeolite, the nano zeolite people, they're using research from normal zeolite to try to back their liquid nano zeolite. It's garbage. Maybe we'll go into some zeolite stuff. Kelsey, who's in the Love Your Liver network and is very on top of it, she knows a lot about this stuff, and I'm going to pick her brain before I go into it. So, normal zeolite, there may be some improvements that could be made to zeolite, but we found activated charcoal to be much better. And actually, even Kelsey, who's an expert on zeolite, she likes activated charcoal better. So, anyway. So, let me see. Let me just go see if I can find anything else here. Role of the gastric refluxate. So that's what's coming back up in gastroesophageal reflux disease. Acid, weak acid, and bile. Let's see what it has to say. So here's a key sentence. Acid combined with pepsin and unconjugated bile acids are critical to the development of esophagitis. You mean inflammation of the esophagus? Bile acids? And Barrett's esophagus. That's like what they talk about with alcoholics, where they're eating serious holes through their esophagus. The esophagus being the tube that goes from your stomach to your mouth. Okay. So let me go. I want to find the one. See if I can find. I want to find the one where it shows that your stomach absorbs bile. Yeah, there it is. There it is. Wait. Did I put that link in there? Let me do this link. I don't think I did. Oh, and the funny thing, so when we're talking about the alkalinity of bile in the stomach, making it less acidic. So remember, something could it doesn't necessarily mean it made your stomach alkaline. It means you can make something less acidic. Something could be alkaline and make something less acidic, but not make it totally alkaline. You have to understand that it's like, the pH scale. There's 7 in the middle and there's 0 and 14 out on the ends. So you can make something, if something was really acidic, like your stomach's supposed to be, but you have bile in it, it doesn't necessarily make it alkaline. It makes it less acidic, which is moving towards alkaline. Okay. So, yeah, here's the paper. Absorption. Wait, let me post it here first. Absorption of bile salts from human gastric mucosa. Okay, so human, obviously gastric stomach, mucosa is the lining of your stomach. Absorption of bile salts from it. We don't really, there is no abstract here, and I'm not going to go look up the whole thing. Oh, but here we have, let me look up this one, but they're saying you absorb it direct. So you don't even need like leaks. Like the liver can leak bile directly into your blood. That's called intrahepatic cholestasis. Your bile ducts can leak bile. Your leaky gut can leak bile, and it can go back up into your stomach. Your stomach can actually directly absorb bile. Why would it do that? Well, you definitely don't want it going up into your esophagus and dissolving holes there. Your liver dumps the bile into the bile ducts. The bile ducts go into your small intestine, which follows right after your stomach. So that means for the bile to go into your stomach, it has to go from the liver to the bile ducts into the small intestine and then be pushed backwards all the way up into your stomach and then all the way up into your esophagus. How bad are things going if that's happening? Pretty bad. So let's see. So let's go into this other paper. Oh, they don't have an abstract on this one either. Bile damage to the gastric mucosal barrier, the influence of pH and bile acid concentration. So that's just another paper. Somebody can go find that if they want. Absorption and damage. You're not supposed to have bile in your stomach, but that's GERD. So let's just go and see. Let's go proton pump inhibitor. So what do they give people? They give people PPIs, proton pump inhibitors. So what I'm going to tell you, here we go. You like that laugh? This was just too funny. Let me see. Oh, here we go. So this is an article in here. Let me post this because this will have some great stuff. So, management of bile reflux from the Gastroenterology and Hepatology Journal. How is bile reflux distinguished from acidic reflux? Their answer: it is not possible to distinguish bile reflux from acidic reflux in terms of signs and symptoms. Well, that's interesting. Where is the PPI part that I wanted to see this? Here's a nice little quote. Bile should not be in the esophagus. The presence of bile indicates the presence of bile reflux. They're still trying to differentiate between the two. They're trying to say that there's acidic reflux and there's bile reflux. But let me find. It has been shown that patients with more bile reflux have more severe esophageal mucosal damage. So there is clear correlation between the amount of bile reflux and the severity of distal esophageal inflammation. In fact, patients with the most severe degree of gastroesophageal inflammation, Barrett's esophagus, are those with the largest amount of bile reflux. However, this is modern medicine for you. This is why they're never going to get anywhere. However, there is no need for patients with bile reflux to undergo special monitoring or take any prophylactic measures apart from treatment of gastroesophageal reflux disease, unless they already have Barrett's esophagus. Where is the thing that I wanted to see? Proton pump inhibitors. That's what I wanted. Okay, so we want here. Okay, here's how you know that these are all connected, okay? Likewise, drugs that reduce the secretion of gastric acid, e.g., example, proton pump inhibitors, or that reduce gastric contents or volume can be used to treat acidic bile reflux. What do you think the proton pump inhibitors, the omeprazole and all that stuff are actually doing? Do you think they're actually reducing bile production? And if we start in our world of toxic bile theory, if we start reducing bile production or just reducing bile excretion, we start causing liver and bile duct problems. We start making the bile more toxic. We start causing other health problems in other parts of the body. This is what is expected. So let me just go and look and see. So what do we have here? Oh, I don't even know that I need to read this paper. Association between proton pump inhibitor use and biliary tract, bile duct tract, the bile duct's cancer risk. A Swedish population-based cohort study. Start messing with the bile, and you cause bile duct cancer. That's interesting. Is there anything else like this? Oh, here. Using proton pump inhibitors increases the risk of hepatobiliary pancreatic cancer, a systemic review and meta-analysis. Now we've got the liver and the bile ducts and the pancreas. Let's go and do PubMed. Proton pump inhibitor cancer. Let's just go for the gold. Let's see, long-term use of proton pump inhibitors and risk of gastric cancer, stomach cancer. What are we trying to prevent here? A review of the current evidence. Let's see. Our recent study has showed that even after H. pylori eradication, long-term proton pump inhibitor use is still associated with an increased risk of gastric cancer by more than twofold, 2 times as much. Hmm. Proton pump inhibitors and cancer, current state of play. Oh, sorry, I forgot to add, if it was the stomach acid, the stomach was too alkaline, and you start throwing in things like apple cider vinegar, which is acetic acid, and you start in a certain way neutralizing some of the bile, that could help people with their GERD or their heartburn. Does that make sense? You can start throwing acids at it to neutralize the alkalinity of the bile and then get that lower esophageal sphincter to close. Is that fixing the root cause at all? No, it's not fixing the root cause at all, but it can help your symptoms. Would it be okay to manage your symptoms for a while? With that, I guess I'd much rather you did charcoal to soak up all the garbage in your stomach. Maybe some psyllium. If you're going to use psyllium or charcoal for anything stomach related or esophagus related or stomach related, you must use powders in water. Okay? Because if you take pills of charcoal or pills of psyllium can actually be dangerous. That's why they make them chewables most times, because if you get a pill of psyllium stuck in your throat and the capsule dissolves and it starts swelling with the water from your saliva that will pass by it, you could actually choke. There have been people who have choked on psyllium capsules before. I never suggest people use psyllium in capsules. The chewables are just full of all other gross garbage, so I wouldn't use those either. But charcoal capsules, imagine this. You swallow a charcoal capsule and it goes down and it goes past your stomach before it dissolves. It didn't help your stomach at all. Does that make sense? If you're ever going to use fiber like psyllium or charcoal, you need to mix it with water, not capsules. If you're going to use psyllium, you need to let it sit and activate so it swells a bit, so it gets a bit thick, so that when you drink it, that psyllium is there to soak up the bile. If it doesn't touch if the charcoal or the psyllium, if the charcoal's in a capsule or if the psyllium is not what I call activated, it will not soak up anything by the time it gets through your stomach, or it will soak up very little and you will not get relief. Now, let me tell you one other thing. For those of you who have GERD or acid reflux, how honest can a guy be about their own product? I'm going to tell you, if you have GERD, do not take lactoferrin. My lactoferrin or anybody else's. Lactoferrin will increase your bile production and excretion generally too much. You've already got your bile going back up into your stomach, okay? You got a problem with bile going the wrong places. You ramp up the production of your bile that's already going the wrong direction, and it's going to go back up into your stomach. You're going to make your heartburn worse. You must get a lot better in terms of reducing the toxicity of your bile and getting the bile to go the right direction before you ever consider lactoferrin. So here I am telling you not to use my product if you have this condition. Not yet. You need to get a lot better before you consider using lactoferrin. Lactoferrin really can ramp up bile production. And if it's going the wrong way, just like if you turn up the faucet on a sink that's leaking, the amount of leak increases, right? So lactoferrin and GERD do not get along. Okay. So let's see, what else did I have? Oh, we didn't go over this proton pump inhibitors and cancer current state of play. Let's see if we got a good line in here. Oh, they only care about whether PPIs are inhibiting chemotherapy in this paper. What a waste of time. Actually, let's go and do this. Liver tox proton pump inhibitors. The things that really mess with your bile production are the things that will really cause liver. I mean, things that mess with your bile production are the things that will mess with your liver the most. They don't have a general thing. They have each of the proton pump inhibitors. Pantoprazole. Let's go look at it. So this is the Liver Tox website. So pantoprazole is a proton pump inhibitor. Let's see, do they talk about bile in this at all? They don't even mention bile. See, even on the liver tox thing. So their likelihood of liver injury, a likelihood score is a C, a probable rare cause of clinically apparent liver injury. That's because they always call liver disease the silent disease because they never find it. Cases of acute liver failure due to proton pump inhibitors have been described. Just liver failure. You got liver failure, you're freaking dead unless you get a liver transplant. So so that's the big thing. So I think that's about all I'm going to go over on bile and gastroesophageal reflux disease. We fix this all the time. Symptomatically, short term, soaking up the bile that is in your stomach and esophagus that is not supposed to be there is the best way to fix this, in my opinion. Now, inside the Love Your Liver program, we have, I think there's a 13 or 15 article section on activated charcoal and psyllium. If you're going to get psyllium, make sure it's organic. Don't buy non-organic psyllium. You want it to be as finely ground as possible. Down in the info, there's my Amazon list, which is one that I found that's really finely ground. The finer the grind on the psyllium, the more it's going to absorb water better and the less gross it's going to be. The chunky psylliums are gross. They are. The chunkier they are, the grosser they are. And always let it sit and activate before you swallow it. Now, Sun Fiber, which our new product, if you haven't seen, if you go to nutritiondetective.com in the shop, we've got organic Sun Fiber, like a pound bag, which is twice as big as anything else on the market. And it's also organic. That doesn't help so much with GERD. It can help with your gut biome. It can help with your pooping, but it doesn't help with GERD because it doesn't, the amount of bile that fiber soaks up is relative or correlates with how much it thickens in water. One of the coolest things about Sun Fiber is it doesn't thicken in water. It doesn't change the taste. It doesn't change anything really much about the water that you add it to or the liquid that you add it to. Great for feeding your gut biome and helping your pooping, but not so great for like if you were trying to use it directly for GERD. Okay. And then the long-term things that we do to fix GERD is, imagine this, it's just like everything else. We fix the liver because the liver and the bile is the cause of the problem. Let me just go, while we're at it, let me just go and do zinc. Gastroesophageal reflux. Let's just see if there's any zinc deficiency associated with it. That would be shocking, wouldn't it? And then if I found copper toxicity associated with it too. So what do we have here? Oh, let me tell you something. For those of you who might have used, what is it? The zinc carnosine, the pepti zinc, I think it's called. Zinc carnosine can seem to help with GERD symptoms. Yes. Zinc carnosine is a very expensive form of zinc, and it is not good at raising your systemic levels of zinc. So I want you to think of it, if you want to use zinc to raise your systemic levels, you use zinc picolinate. If you want to use a zinc carnosine to help your GERD symptoms, but understand that it's expensive and it's not going to raise your zinc levels much, zinc carnosine, or is it Pepzin? That's what it's called. Pepzin. That is the patented form of Pepzin. Yes, there it is. Pepzin. Pepzin. Good. It can help your symptoms of GERD. Doesn't fix it. can help the symptoms. It's expensive, but it doesn't raise your systemic levels of zinc. Okay. So let's see. The effect of zinc supplementation on the symptoms of gastroesophageal reflux disease, a randomized clinical trial. Now, I don't know how this trial went. I'm just looking at it right now. There's that link. Let's go see. What is RDQ? Let me look up RDQ. Reflux Disease Questionnaire. Oh, their conclusion was zinc supplementation cannot improve the severity of GERD. I wouldn't necessarily expect zinc to do a lot by itself. But then again, there is that zinc carnosine, which does help. Wow, they can't even spell their title right. Let's see. Here we have another paper, zinc and gastrointestinal disease. Well, here we go. I can tell you that we've seen that bile will cause leaky gut. We have a study here called zinc and gastrointestinal disease, and here's the abstract. A line from it. The recent literature describing zinc action on gastrointestinal epithelial tight junctions. That's what you want. So you're not leaky. You want your tight junctions tight. So on gastrointestinal epithelial tight junctions and epithelial barrier function is described. Zinc enhancement of gastrointestinal epithelial barrier function may figure prominently in its potential therapeutic action in several gastrointestinal diseases. So you want tight junctions to stay tight. If they're leaky, that's leaky gut. They're just saying here that zinc is helping that. Okay, now let's just go. And because we love showing that copper is just a toxic metal, basically, let's go copper gastroesophageal reflux PubMed. Let's see if they've even studied this. Oh, so here we go. Acute gastrointestinal effects of graded levels of copper in drinking water. Acute gastrointestinal effects of graded levels of copper in drinking water. Hey, do you know that they use copper water pipes in a lot of people's houses? If you have a water heater, it is almost guaranteed, practically guaranteed, that you have copper water pipes going in and out of your water heater. Hot water sucks more copper off the pipes. It's just there. Somebody actually reported to me about a week ago that when they added some, I forget what they added to their bath water, but they added, I think it was vitamin C, or was it magnesium chloride? And they know that their entire house is copper water pipes. And they said the water, after they added whatever it was, I forget which one it was, magnesium chloride or vitamin C, the water actually turned bluish. What color is oxidized copper? It's like a turquoise-ish blue. You ever seen copper sulfate that some of these revolutionary copper people push on people at 30 milligrams a day, which is insanely toxic? It's blue. So here we go. The objective of this study was to determine the acute gastrointestinal effects caused by the consumption of drinking water containing graded levels of added copper. So let's see. So they're drinking different types of copper in the water. 21 subjects, 35% recorded gastrointestinal disturbances sometime during the study. 9 had diarrhea, some with abdominal pain and vomiting, and 12 subjects presented abdominal pain, nausea, or vomiting. Nausea, abdominal pain, or vomiting were significantly related to copper concentrations in the water. Nausea, bile in your stomach. Abdominal pain, bile going all around your guts. Vomiting, bile, so much bile that you go from nausea to throwing it up. Gosh, Copper wouldn't cause liver problems and bile problems now, would it? Yes, absolutely. When subjects interrupted their consumption of drinking water with added copper, most symptoms disappeared. They stopped drinking the copper water, their acute symptoms disappeared. Their symptoms were caused by copper in the water. Yeah. Did I post that one yet? What was that? 006? There it is. Don't consume extra copper if you can avoid it. I want you folks, some of you are going, but copper, I think we need some copper. I'm going to tell you, one of the foundational things that people have found these days, and now am I advocating all muscle meat carnivore when I'm about to say this? No. What I'm saying is a lot of people who go all muscle, we have plenty of people in the network who tried all muscle meat carnivore, and it may have helped them in certain ways, but they still had problems in other ways. They didn't get rid of everything. All muscle meat carnivore. Here's the things you want to know about an all muscle meat carnivore diet. It's the lowest vitamin A diet you could eat. It's also the lowest copper diet that you could eat. It's also the highest zinc diet that you could eat. And there's almost no vitamin C in that diet. People are not dying. People have been on the all muscle meat carnivore diet, some of them like 15 years now. And I'm not talking about anybody who eats eggs or dairy or organ meats. I'm only talking about the all muscle meat, no organ meat and no other nonsense egg yolks and butter and dairy and stuff like that. Low copper, low vitamin A, high zinc, almost no vitamin C. And they are not dying of scurvy. I went over scurvy on one of my past live streams. They are not dying of copper deficiency. They are not dying of vitamin A deficiency. And they're not getting zinc toxicity, but some of them have come into my work and they've been fairly high on zinc. The main tweak that if people are on a all muscle meat carnivore diet that I just suggest they do is they start adding either some charcoal or some soluble fiber like psyllium so that they can start feeding their gut bacteria, their bifidobacteria in their gut, because if you don't take in carbs or soluble fiber, you will not feed the bifidobacteria. They will die. You will get a putrefactive dysbiosis. It will then cause other problems later on down the line. But all you need to do is feed the bifido and things can stay really, really good and you can stay pooping really, really good. But imagine if people were getting better on a diet that was low in copper, low in vitamin A, and high in zinc. Imagine that. Who would talk about that here? Do I eat an all muscle meat carnivore diet? No. Do I do well with like probably 2/3 of my diet as muscle meat? Yeah. Are there variations on the diet that we in the Love Your Liver program at members.nutritiondetective.com, people on it are on all sorts of different variations of diet because they're finding what works for them. What works for people always want to know my diet. What works for me is not what works for you. We don't assume that in the program. We have people figure out what works for them. Some people tell me that eating beans, adding beans to their life was the greatest thing they ever did. I was the first practitioner to give them like permission to do that because they were coming from paleo or keto or all this other nonsense stuff. Or they were even coming from carnivore. And they start eating beans and they're like, I feel amazing. And then we all know some people don't feel good on beans. Okay. This is not that difficult. Feel great on beans? Eat them. Don't feel great on them? Don't. That's just one food that we talk about. So let me get to the super chats now. So yes, Pipotkinhu or whatever that, however we say that out. I don't know. Is pyridoxamine a bad form of B6? It was banned. I don't know. I'm not pursuing B6. Pyridoxine is an alcohol. Go look it up. I've had people in the chat be like, no, it's not. Go type pyridoxine alcohol into the search engines and find out for yourself. And then go look at pyridoxal-5, or is it pyridoxal 5-phosphate? Whichever one, just type in pyridoxal and type in the word aldehyde with it. Pyridoxal is an aldehyde. Do we around these parts believe that alcohols and aldehydes are essential vitamins for the human body to function correctly? No. Why are aldehydes generally regarded as toxic, and yet retinaldehyde vitamin A is considered essential somehow? It doesn't make any sense. Alcohols and aldehydes, weird thing, cholecalciferol and calcitriol, vitamin D are also alcohols. That's where it gets weird. Tocopherol, tocotrienol, the vitamin E's are alcohols. All the fat-soluble vitamins are all alcohols. And they all seem to interfere with each other, and so people will play with them. I want you to understand, the whole basis of modern medicine is giving you a poison to reduce the symptoms of another poison, another toxicity that you have in your system. Could this very same thing be occurring with vitamins, particularly the fat-soluble ones? B6 does accumulate in the nerves. There's a website, understandingb6toxicity.com. Feel free to go there and read about how B6 accumulates in the nerves. But I was told B vitamins, you just pee out any extra you don't need. They are lying to you about B vitamins. If you need mega doses of a B vitamin to help your symptoms, I want you to think about that. Did God design us to have to need pills to live? No. Does our food supply suck? So we may need to supplement things to correct the deficiencies and also to protect us against the toxicities that we have been subjected to. I think so. Like I there was somebody on Twitter arguing that I'm like, okay, so if the food's deficient and we're toxic and we need, let's say, zinc, food's zinc deficient, and we need zinc to counteract the toxins that are too high in us. And they were like, I think food should just fix everything. I'm like, how in the heck are you ever going to fix that problem? If the food's deficient and you need, let's say you're cadmium toxic or vitamin A toxic or copper toxic or arsenic toxic, you need zinc to counteract all of those, mercury, lead, cadmium, you need zinc to counteract all of these things to help get it out of you. But you insist on eating foods that you know are deficient because you want to live in a perfect world where the food is all you ever need. You don't live in that world. We don't live in our great-grandparents' world anymore. You can't look at what they did 100 years ago and think that the same thing works today, because it's even just, like all the food used to be organic, right? It was just by nature, it was organic 100 years ago. Now you have to specifically search out organic, and now they're twisting the rules so that they can do all sorts of things to the organic food that they don't have to tell you about. But is pyridoxine, if you are worried about B6, get it from food. B6 does bind to aldehydes. Like I said, using one poison to counteract another toxicity is the basis of modern medicine. You can look up B6 aldehyde adducts. Let me find it. Or let me see. Let me look up pyridoxine. I'm not finding it right now. Well, here's what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is like some of the B vitamins. I talk about them as antidotes. B12 is a known antidote to cyanide poisoning and hydrogen sulfide poisoning. It's an antidote. It somehow either binds to it, I believe it binds to it, and helps carry it out. The problem with antidotes is when you don't need them anymore, they become toxic on their own right. And B12 is a cobalt molecule. Cobalamin, cobalt. Cobalt is a toxic metal. And if you look at the amine, cobalamin, and you look at all three parts of what makes up the amine molecule on B12, I've done this before. All three parts of that amine, if you broke them into separate parts, are toxic. So you have a toxic metal bound to three toxic parts. But it has been used as an antidote to hydrogen sulfide toxicity and I believe cyanide toxicity. It's an antidote. So with B6, I'm just going to read this one paper, a short thing here, showing you antidote theory in action for B6. Remember, B6, alcohol, and aldehyde. Okay, here's the paper. Biogenic aldehydes as therapeutic targets for cardiovascular disease. So let me read this. Aldehydes are continuously formed in biological systems through enzyme-dependent and spontaneous oxidation of lipids, glucose, and primary amines. These highly reactive biogenic electrophiles can become toxic via covalent modification of proteins, lipids, and DNA. Thus, agents that scavenge aldehydes through conjugation have therapeutic value for a number of major cardiovascular diseases. Several commonly prescribed drugs, e.g., hydralazine, have been shown to have potent aldehyde conjugating properties. They're binding to aldehydes, which may contribute to their beneficial effects. Herein, we briefly describe the major sources and toxicities of biogenic aldehydes in the cardiovascular system and provide an overview of drugs that are known to have aldehyde conjugating effects. Some compounds of phytochemical origin, that'd be herbs, and histidyl dipeptides with emerging therapeutic value in this area are also discussed. If you have to take mega doses of B vitamins or even B vitamin supplements to feel better, more so than what's in food, you're toxic. This is not a bad thing. We're all toxic. What if you're like, man, if I take 2,000 milligrams of B1 thiamine, HCl, that's what I would use, thiamine HCl. I don't use the allithiamine that much anymore. Derived from garlic, two sulfur bonds, two sulfurs, and I'm not a huge fan of it anymore. But it's binding to aldehydes, making them less toxic on their way out. But if you're not getting rid of the aldehyde problem, you're going to be stuck taking that supplement forever. What we see with people on the Love Your Liver program is they eventually are able to get off the mega doses of B vitamins because they are directly addressing the problem. The aldehyde problem, the aldehyde dehydrogenase problem. Aldehyde dehydrogenase is what breaks down your aldehydes. Needs selenium, needs molybdenum. It does need some folate too. I never use MTHF, 5-MTHF. If you want to use that, that's fine. But folinic acid, funny thing, they just banned folinic acid for normal use. You can only get it as a prescription now. The stuff that's still left on the internet, if you want to get some folinic acid or calcium folinate, you better get it now because those companies are running out of it and they can't make any more. It's going to be prescription only. I may figure out how to help my clients who need folate to get it somehow through compounding pharmacies. But his pyridoxamine was probably too obviously toxic. So they don't use it. Or maybe it doesn't bind to aldehydes as well. And so you just add another problem compound to the aldehyde problem that's already there. So, B vitamins, if they help, you can use it. Realize that it's helping your toxicity state. It's masking your toxicity state. It's a band-aid for your toxicity state. Your goal, therefore, what we do in the program is we help you get rid of the actual toxicities. Like, oh gosh, B6 binds to aldehydes. What if B6 binds to retinaldehyde? Could that make people feel better? Yeah. Is it getting rid of your vitamin A toxicity necessarily? Not if you don't know that you're vitamin A toxic and you don't act like it and eat less vitamin A. This is why so many people are just stuck on megadosing B vitamins. And they slowly get worse because, as the saying goes here, the poison always wins in the end. You can't out-antidote the poisons that you're putting in. You can protect yourself from some of the damage, but you can't out-antidote them forever. We deal with aldehydes here a lot. So that's what I got for that question. Ben James. Oh, sorry. Thank you for that super chat. I forgot to say, Ben, thank you for the super chat. We already answered the oligo scan. I think it's a waste of time and money. John Dickinson, thank you for the super chat, is requesting a short history of toxic bile theory. Well, the short history was Matt Stone of 180 Degree Health introduced me to Grant Generou's work on vitamin A toxicity. I then I got into that, and that work, Grant's work, led me to. I mean, I started researching as I do, and that led me to Mawson's work. And I started noticing over time that I was trying to figure out why, as people in the Grant Generou world will talk about, like the detox setback, or that why when certain people took certain supplements or ate certain foods or did certain things like ate too much soluble fiber, why they would feel bad. Some people would feel amazing as they did more soluble fiber. Some people would feel terrible. Why did some people exercise and they felt worse? Why did some people go in the sun and they felt worse? Why did some people go in the heat and they felt worse? And I started looking into that, and I started seeing that some of these things, like there's a study on sled dogs where when they gave the sled dogs vitamin A, and after the sled dogs exercised, they found more vitamin A in the blood of the sled dogs who exercise. And so I started looking. Mawson's work is really all about cholestasis, toxic bile leaking into the blood, or going the backwards of where it's supposed to go, like up into the stomach. That's cholestasis. So I started seeing this pattern of bile problems in Anthony Mawson's work. That was how the vitamin A was coming out of the liver into the bile, but it was leaking into the bloodstream, and then it was converting into retinoic acid and causing all these problems. And I started going, well, it's not just retinoic acid. There's something carrying the vitamin A out of the liver, and that's bile. And so then I just got into that, and then it all started making sense in terms of, we started finding that vitamin A caused cholestasis, vitamin A toxicity caused cholestasis, and copper causes cholestasis, and manganese causes cholestasis, and glyphosate causes liver injury, aka cholestasis, and all these things. When you look up liver injury, and then why did people's health problems start after this particular medication, or after birth control pills, or after this, and then we started looking into the connection was all to the liver and cholestasis. And then we got into toxic bile theory, and then we started getting into the recipe of it and the amount of it and the various things in it. And it just became, as many people who come here and start following in the ideas of toxic bile theory, it all starts to explain why certain things feel better at the start only to feel worse later, or why when they did certain things in their life they felt better, and why they did certain things in their life and over time they felt much worse. It just all started to explain it, because like why a guy I just spent a couple days hanging out at his house with a friend of mine. When he gets a migraine, he's now figured it out that if he does a coffee enema, instead of the migraine lasting a day, he can shut it down to like an hour. Because why? You get the bile out. What a coffee enema does. Now, I'm not necessarily advising coffee enemas. If you want to do coffee enemas, I don't talk about them much in the program. I say, people, if you know how to do them and you like doing them, if you like doing them, you can do them. But what a coffee enema is doing is it is inducing a bile dump into your guts via a bitter toxic compound called coffee. Bitters induce bile dumping because your body wants to get rid of the toxins that are, nature marks poisons as bitter. That's one of the ways it marks. It also marks them as sour. But coffee's bitter. So then it triggers a bile dump. You dump the bile, and then you have all this excess fluid in your intestines. And then your body says, well, you've got a lot of bile now, which triggers diarrhea. And you've got a bunch of water in your intestines, which also triggers diarrhea. And so you poop that bile out very quickly. So it's a way for him to move that bile out very quickly. And then he kind of lowers the load on the liver. The liver can process whatever was in the blood, because it's the bile that leaked into the blood that was causing the headaches. So you get a bunch of bile out of the liver, you reduce its load, it can then process. This is why it takes a couple hours. Then the liver starts processing what was in the blood, because the only thing that can filter your blood is your liver, and your kidneys too, but the liver is the workhorse. This is why we focus on it. Your kidneys are like a secondary detox organ. Lungs also detox aldehydes. We talk about that with the breath work. If you want to see the breath work live stream, check that one out here. You do detox through the breath, but also detoxing through the breath, poison on the way in, poison on the way out. Aldehydes can damage your lungs too. So that's why we work on breathing. And then your skin. But your skin gets damaged from toxins coming out of it. That's what skin problems are. If you have skin problems, that is toxic bile coming out through your skin. Once we started to understand that the bile was just going everywhere, then it all started to make sense. So that's the short history, John. But yeah, if you ever want to read about, where I got the toxic bile theory from, I accumulated all of Anthony Mawson's major papers in I think it's one of the very first articles in the Love Your Liver program, or you can just go and search Anthony Mawson on PubMed and see what he's got. I think he's been writing papers related to this since 1984. This is why I'm so almost embarrassed for the health community, is that he's been doing it since 1984, which means all sorts of other people didn't figure this out for all that time. So that's what we got there. Okay, here we go. Ramon's back with the super chats. He says, hi, Dr. Smith. Missed the last 3 live streams because of either work or doctor's appointment with the broken foot. Been binge watching your live streams from episode 1. Well, thank you for that super chat, Ramon. Hope you've been enjoying them. He did another super chat. Ramon did. What's your take on fresh annatto for coloring food? My wife uses it on beef and chicken to make it look pretty, and I guess add some flavor too. Thank you. Well, it just so happens that I have written about this on my old research forum. Let me get the link and post this in here. I hope you know what's coming, Ramon. It's not good. So my article was titled Annatto causes major problems and is a carotenoid. It's a carotenoid poison / vitamin A. That's what I used to call it, used as natural food coloring. Okay. Here we had an article, not so natural reactions to natural food colors. As a fairly new mom, here's the quote from this article. As a fairly new mom, I remember being shocked when my sweet 18-month-old son started violently and repeatedly banging his head against anything, even concrete. Within no time, his sensitive little forehead would drip with blood. I knew something was very wrong, but had no idea what it could be. Was his newfound aggression just a stage? One night after my head-banging son was tucked in bed, I happened to stumble across online testimonies about other children with head-banging issues. Strangely enough, their behaviors completely changed once their parents removed annatto from their diets. What is annatto? Annatto, extracted from South American annatto seeds, is used to naturally color orange or yellow foods. I think they mean is used to naturally color foods orange or yellow. Because its properties easily bind to milk proteins. What else? Wait. What else binds to milk? Vitamin A. You can find vitamin A in dairy products in the fat, in the casein protein, and in the whey protein. We've been over the research on this before. So vitamin A binds very easily to all parts of dairy. Here we go. Because its properties easily bind to milk proteins, it's frequently used to color dairy products like cheese and cheese items like Goldfish and Cheez-It crackers. Unfortunately, annatto causes just about as many reactions as artificial colors, including headaches, irritability, restlessness, sleep disturbance, and head banging in young children. So we're continuing. We're skipping ahead. I got rid of his beloved cheesy crackers, ice pops, and yellow cheese. Within days, our son quickly changed back to his normal self. In what certainly seems to be a distinct correlation, hyperactivity, head banging, and restless legs became common symptoms in children after processed foods were introduced to American diets in the 1960s. So here's another paper, composition of carotenoids. That's plant vitamin A, if you didn't know, folks, from annatto. Here we go. Commercial annatto preparations are available to impart yellow to red colors to a variety of products such as cheese, butter mixes, sausages, and dressings. Approximately 80% of the carotenoid content of annatto seeds is bixin, B-I-X-I-N. However, several carotenoids can be found in trace amounts. Recently, 14 minor carotenoids were isolated and identified by means of spectroscopic data. 11 of them are newly discovered carotenoids. Unique toxic carotenoids in annatto. Yeah. Let me see if there's anything else in here. But that's pretty much it. One of the things I didn't go over about the yellow teeth thing. I wanted to just post this link. Here's the link where I go over that beta carotene is a known compound to stain the teeth yellow. Beta carotene being the main plant carotenoid. So, yeah, Ramon, I don't care if it's fresh or not. If you're coloring your food yellow, you're putting vitamin A in it. And if you've been having, I know you've been working on lots of things about your health. If you continue to add annatto to your foods, you're going to plateau for sure at some point. Don't add annatto to your food. Don't make your food yellow or orange or red. Yellow or orange or red is especially the most toxic color in nature. Nature marks its most toxic things with red. Okay. Oh, Pipotkin, who says annatto's high in tocotrienols. Well, there we go too. Then we got more vitamin E in it. And if you mix it with fats like dairy fats or other fats in food, then you're going to absorb all of it more. So Bob asks, what about vitamin E tocotrienols made from annatto? I don't believe that vitamin E is an essential vitamin either. So, yeah, I wouldn't be doing that either. I would not supplement any fat-soluble vitamins short of vitamin K. So I'm going to say, do you mean K2? I just mean vitamin K. Like there's K1, there's K2, there's MK4, there's MK7. So I don't get into that whole. Don't take K3. That's all I'll say. K3 is the totally synthetic one. Don't ever take that. They still put it in your dog food sometimes because they want to poison your dogs. But that is all the super chats for today. I am going to be done on time today. So let me just make sure I got everything. Thank you for all the super chats, folks. So I'm going to start at the top of the questions now. So Sam says, how prevalent is vitamin A toxicity, and are there populations, example, people with allergy background, more at risk? Can your method coexist with other treatments? I'm going to start on that last one. Can my method coexist with other treatments? My method coexists with all sorts of other treatments. Some of these other treatments are helpful to my approach, and like ozone. Ozone is an oxidative treatment. Ozone could help this process. Whereas, let's say people using molecular hydrogen or Brown's gas, that's a very potent antioxidant. Your main detox systems are oxidative. Your biggest detoxers of vitamin A are dehydrogenase enzymes. They're pulling hydrogens off of things. So do you think throwing a bunch of molecular hydrogen in the system that could bind to things and rehydrogen them is going to help or hinder our process? I mean, we coexist with everything. I have no problems working with other physicians and other practitioners. It's always them who have problems working with me. So can it coexist with other treatments? I mean, we coexist with other treatments all the time. Just so you guys know, there are some people out there trying to badmouth my work and what I do. And I want you to understand, you guys ever, let's say you shared a recipe with somebody and you give them the recipe and they go off on their own and they try to make it. And they come back to you and they go, well, that recipe sucked. It didn't come out right. And you go, well, did you do this? And they go, no. Did you do this? And they go, no. Did you do this? No. Did you do this? No. Oh, wait, so you're telling me I gave you a recipe and you kind of looked at it and you went and did your own thing and you didn't do it right. And now you're going to come back and tell me this recipe sucks. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, we all know, have anybody who's ever taught anybody anything, you can give them the information. Does that mean they're going to go out and do it right? No. Do I put warning after warning after warning and suggestion after suggestion after suggestion in the Love Your Liver program all the time? Then I have people come back to me even here and they go, I don't understand why I don't feel good. And I go, well, are you doing too much of this or are you not doing this? And they go, yeah. And I go, well, I specifically mention, I'm not trying to make people feel bad when I do this, but I go, I specifically, like, I bolded and underlined and put asterisks around this so that you wouldn't miss this point, and you missed it. It's a do-it-yourself program. People can screw up do-it-yourself programs all the time, and some people might even want to say, just because they want to badmouth it, they say, well, I did it right, and I still didn't feel good. People can just lie. There's some people out there who are mad at me because I didn't allow them to promote their own, in my opinion, extremely incorrect views inside my network. This is not a democracy. It never will be. Great things in this world are not achieved by vote. They are achieved by driven people, usually single-driven people who have others who help them to make more observations. But the information is filtered typically through one final source. That's what I do. There was one person who wanted to come on the Love Your Liver network and start saying everything is iron overload. Everything is iron overload. And I quickly shut that down because that's not right at all. Is everything copper toxicity? No. Is everything vitamin A toxicity? No. Is everything iron overload? No. Do these problems tend to come together? Yes. Is solving them together, is it all connected? Yes. Can we address each part on its own? A bit. That's one of the problems that people have with this work is they can't wrap their head around all the different ways we've been poisoned and all the BS out there that they've been fed. How can all these people be so wrong? Because people look at short-term results. They don't look at long-term. Long-term means they have to take too much responsibility for their actions. They would love the short-term so they can, just from all those Amazon testimonials on supplements that I say aren't good, they're like people who took it for a week or a couple weeks or a day. I feel so amazing. And you don't ever see 3-year or 5-year testimonials on it, do you? Because they've already ditched it because they didn't feel good and try something else, but they don't go back. So anyway, we can coexist with other practitioners all the time. Like I had a person in the network who was very excited about reducing her thyroid hormone on her own. And she tried it. I think she dropped her dose by half. I was not specific that this was outside. Dropped it very quickly. Got some symptoms. She dropped it too quickly. So we told her, get back on more of it. Doc, it hurts when I do this. Well, then don't do that. But there are people out there who cannot follow that simple advice. I did this, it made me worse. Then don't do that. Go backwards. This seems like people hear it and they're like, oh yeah, this sounds so simple. And then they don't do it when it happens. There is no pushing through stuff, folks. Any practitioner who ever sells you on stuff of just push through, it'll get better on the other side. No. Garbage advice. But that's another thing. Some people are like, well, I did this and it made me feel better. So why does Dr. Smith say not to do it? Crackheads love crack because the crackheads love crack. That doesn't mean it's good for them. Okay, there's lots of things you can do that make you feel better that aren't good for you. That short-term feeling better is not. What we don't want is short-term feeling worse. That's very different than going short-term feeling better is good. You know, this is a total joke, but I mean, people who don't normally drink caffeine, if they go and they have like a half a cup of coffee, they're probably going to have, and they don't have problems with their caffeine metabolism, they're probably going to have a great day and get tons of stuff done. Does that mean it was good for them? No. Why do people get hooked on cocaine? Because they feel like amazing on it. I wouldn't know. I've never done it, but I understand the mechanism. Just because you feel good on something doesn't mean it's great for you. The things that feel really good short term are going to cause you problems long term, most likely. And we see this with B vitamins. We see it with taurine. People try them at the start. I feel amazing on this. Why doesn't Dr. Smith put everybody on this? Give it 6 months. If you're doing the right things and you're getting better, in 6 months, that B vitamin will be making you feel worse. I could practically guarantee it, because if we fix the toxicity and then you're putting in like B6 and aldehyde, the aldehydes are toxic on their own. They just said drugs would bind to aldehydes, and that was part of their mechanism. You can use poisons to improve toxicity symptoms. That's exactly what that paper was saying. If people don't understand this, some people out there, even people who were in the Love Your Liver program for a long time and are not anymore, cannot seem to wrap their little minds around this concept. How prevalent is vitamin A toxicity? Let me go find my Twitter thread. Let's see. There it is. Now, I don't have time to fix all this for you, Sam, but what you can do is you take this link. For those of you who don't have Twitter, for those of you who are on Twitter, you should go follow me at NutriDetect. I'll put it down there. It's also in the information below. I just put my username there. And the other thing you can do is if you don't want to have a Twitter account, take that link to the Twitter thread and put it into Nitter, Nitter, nitter.net. So enter my Twitter post into the search engine at nitter.net. Okay. If you guys haven't noticed, how many of you out there in the chat or in the comments lately for about the past 3 weeks, and Will was commenting about this in the Love Your Liver program, there is like a runny nose, mucus, snot, phlegm. It seems like allergy phenomenon like all across the country. I was in my office hours, the follow-up I do for my clients, and I started bringing up the time frame. It was about a week ago that I brought this up, and it was like half the people in the office hours were like, "Oh my gosh, it's happening to me." And I go up to visit my buddy. My buddy's having it happen to him. Like Will was noticing some podcast. I think it was a podcaster had like, red spots on his nose from blowing his nose. Do you want to know? Here's a cool thing. So why doesn't everybody with allergies who's blowing their nose all the time get that irritation you get sometimes when you have a cold or the flu and you get that redness right here? It's like you're being chemically burned. Right? People will say, "Oh, it's from blowing your nose so much." No, there's times when you've blown your nose that much or more than that and you didn't get that. It's toxicity in your snot burning your nose. That's what it is. When we start to understand this, it all starts to make sense. So, that toxicity, the vitamin A toxicity epidemic, I cover it in that Twitter thread thoroughly by liver biopsy papers. I forget when the paper was done on US people, but it's crazy paper. I think it was 2018. Maybe 2020. I don't think it was 2020. Anyway, they had 27 cadavers, dead people, and they analyzed. They got the permission to autopsy them, necropsy them, and they analyzed their liver tissue for vitamin A toxicity, which is the gold standard of vitamin A toxicity. The gold standard has nothing. The gold standard of vitamin A toxicity has nothing to do with blood tests. Nothing at all. Okay. 9 of the 27 people had diagnosable vitamin A toxicity in their liver. 33%. I show in that thread that up to 50% of Africans in the 1950s or 1960s had diagnosable vitamin A toxicity in their liver. 50%. Where are we sending vitamin A to? Where is Bill Gates sending vitamin A to? A lot of it's going to Africa. He's even hybridizing stuff to put more vitamin A into Africa. It's all because he loves them so much. He loves humanity so much. So how prevalent is it? There you go. It's at least that much. And the specific thing in that paper that they mention, they analyze these people's blood also. And they said that none of the people who were liver toxic in vitamin A would have been discovered by blood tests. None of them were toxic in the blood. A full 1/3 of them were toxic in the liver itself. This is why the blood tests for vitamin A are garbage. And this is why, if we start like the next question from Sam was, would it be beneficial to discuss the toxicity problem in your nutrition method with other medical doctors, example, internists or endocrinologists? I mean, if you like talking to walls, I mean, go ahead. The only way that this is going to spread, here's the problem. Here's the challenge of this. As people do this and they get better, do they need to go to the doctor anymore? Not so much. So what's going to be the opportunity? I mean, The only way that this is going to change with practitioners is the truly honest practitioners, the truly moral and ethical practitioners who are actually after fixing people and not just making a living to pay off their massive MD student loans. Most of them are slaves to the pharma cartel. They are. They don't like it, but they don't see another way. Right? How is an MD going to make a living if somebody comes in and you're like, and the MD says, well, go follow this guy's program. So then he has no more visits from that person. Do you see how it's like self-defeating? They can't get people better because it's their business model. They have to keep you sick. The only way that they're going to change their mind would be if they see people getting better. So this is going to be a patient-driven revolution. People have to get better doing this. But then here's the problem. So the doctor's going to say, well, what was your vitamin A test to begin with? Because they don't understand that it's in the liver. And the person's going to say, well, my vitamin A was like in the 30s or 40s, and the deficient toxicity is like supposedly up around 50, 57, 60, 62 for LabCorp, and deficiency is at 20. So you're going to have somebody going in and they're going to say, well, my first vitamin A was in typically, this is typically what comes to me, in the 30s and 40s. And the doctor's going to go, but you weren't vitamin A toxic then. And you may then try to explain it, but it's going to be like talking to a wall. No one said that people become MDs because they're really, really smart. They're really, really good at memorizing and regurgitating information. So what does the pharma cartel do to them? They send them their typically pretty or handsome pharma reps to give them the material to regurgitate. And then they call it standard of care. And if you violate the standard of care, you got a problem. And I mean, just imagine people who are going to MDs, typically they want a pill to fix everything. They don't want to do a damn thing to help themselves other than take a pill. I mean, now the big weight loss drug, right? Ozempic, semaglutide, Wegovy or whatever. These are derived from like Gila monster venom. The compounds in them were originally based on compounds in Gila monster venom. So they are actively taking venom, poison, toxins, and giving it to people in the hopes of helping their diabetes and helping them lose weight by them not digesting their food. If you don't know this about semaglutide, they're finding that you can still have the same food in your stomach like 2 to 3 weeks later. Talk about how to kill somebody with rotten food just rotting in their stomach, putrefying, fermenting, all this nasty stuff. But it's derived from Gila monster venom. So they are actively giving you venom. And I did that whole big episode on snake venom. And that's what the blood pressure medications, a lot of them are derived from. This doesn't sound satanic, right? I mean, taking venom and giving it to people as medicine. I mean, totally. I mean, venom was put there so you could use it as medicine. No. But that's what they're giving people. I would bet that most practitioners don't even know that semaglutide is derived from compounds found in Gila monster venom. I bet you didn't. Maybe you heard me say it before. But you can discuss it with them if you got time to waste. I mean, you can try it. I mean, it's worth a try. But they just want to see results. The good ones want to see results. They don't want to hear a bunch of hot air being blown up their butt because that's what the internet and everybody does all day to all of us, right? So, okay. So let me run down here. Sarah, what are the symptoms of vitamin K deficiency? The easiest symptoms, I'm going to run through them real quick. The easiest symptoms are easy bruising, as in you get bruises regularly that you don't know where they came from. That's the simplest diagnosis there. What we would call a bleeding time issue, where like the easiest way to think about this would be like if you get a nosebleed or a cut, it seems to take a lot longer to stop bleeding than you think it should. Okay. Third is sensitive teeth. Fourth is easily bleeding gums. So the bleeding time. Some people might also add if you have diagnosed osteopenia or osteoporosis. Others might add heavy menstrual bleeding because you're obviously not stopping the bleeding very well. That's that. That's the simple list. Now, if you try vitamin K, K2, MK4, MK7, if you try it and it doesn't help within a month. So the thing about vitamin K is it can take up to a month to help. If you give it a month and you don't notice any changes in the symptoms that you took it for, I wouldn't bother. You could finish out what you have, but I wouldn't bother continuing to take it. It's not helping. Now, what we see with people in the Love Your Liver program, people who are working with me, is so you're supposed to make vitamin K in your gut biome. Your gut bacteria are supposed to make it for you, and then you reabsorb it. Well, you absorb it from the gut bacteria. The gut bacteria make it, you absorb it. What we see regularly on the Love Your Liver program is that over time, people don't need to take their vitamin K anymore to relieve the symptoms because we have fixed the root cause, which is the gut biome, which was made bad by the toxic bile. So we make the bile less toxic. The gut biome fixes itself. The gut biome makes vitamin K. You absorb it. You don't need to take the supplement anymore. That's that. So let's see. Yeah, Hope says I had chicken skin real bad growing up and it's been completely gone for about 8 months now. I used to have it also. I used to have the red dots on the back of my arms. I don't anymore. So Monica says the doctor's program is definitely helping me, even though I've only been on it for 10 months. Allie says my athlete's fungus, so athlete's foot, right? Unless it's somewhere else, but I'm guessing it's athlete's foot. Allie says my athlete's fungus is gone. Toenail fungus is so much better. I still have to keep one nail trimmed 1/3 of the way back, but the overall color is great. Not embarrassing. Kat says, my improvements since starting in June. Chronic migraines disappeared. Knee aches have improved a lot. Sacroiliitis was gone already until on holiday week I ate. However, now it's aching again. I went, when I went somewhere this last week, I did not have control of my food. I was eating extremely organic, and all the dairy was grass-fed, organic, stuff like that. Grass-fed meat, all that stuff. I do not like to eat dairy. I don't care if it's grass-fed or not. It's full of vitamin A. It's full of vitamin D. It's full of calcium. Eating dairy and my reactions to dairy was one of the reasons I got into the health field. And I was eating tons of dairy this last 5 days. Just way more than I ever would eat. And I was waking up in the morning very, very stiff and cracking like I'd been eating nightshades. I don't know if you know this, but nightshades contain vitamin A. They contain tons of vitamin D. They contain other irritating glycoalkaloids. And it just, I actually decided, because some people here want to believe that like grass-fed dairy is like God's gift to us. And because I'm open-minded, I mean, first of all, I didn't have control over my food and I didn't have a car to go get stuff. And I wanted to be, respectful of the people hosting me. I just thought, I'm going to do I turned it into an experiment. I said, I'm going to give raw dairy, they had raw milk, they had raw cream. Anything that they had that wasn't raw was like organic and grass-fed. I didn't feel good. So I did the experiment with dairy. I just said, okay, I'm just going to eat it. Let's see what happens. Maybe I could be right about dairy. I could be wrong about dairy. I didn't feel good. health practitioners have been suggesting people reduce dairy or take dairy out of their diets forever, way before raw dairy. And my buddy who eats the raw dairy all the time was constantly sniffling and coughing, sniffling, coughing, sniffling, coughing, sniffling, coughing, sniffling, coughing. So there's a lot of the sniffling going on. But he had it worse than I've seen. Is it a coincidence? I mean, dairy is known to create tons of mucus in the system. When you think of cheese, think of melted cheese. What does melted cheese look like and feel like? Snot, mucus. Look at it. Melt it down, feel it. It feels like snot. Anyway, so I did the experiment. I'm very appreciative that my friend hosted me. I just don't do well with dairy. And I feel like it's full. I mean, the milk and the cream were like yellow, full of vitamin A. Not what I choose. Again, I'm appreciative that I got to have it, and it was prepared with love and care and tasted good. I'm not going to argue that dairy doesn't taste good. It does. It's just, I don't think it's good for most people. Okay. So Joe says, my light sensitivity has reduced. I don't squint so much like I used to. 6 months of being conscious to avoid vitamin A and copper when possible. My big toe pain has not flared up. Thanks. So Joe's still here. Joe's Baker's Remedy report in the chat. He's still here. He just couldn't help run the live stream with me today. So let's see. Just running through here. Well, Joe put something interesting here. Joe says he ran across info about how boron can be formed into a 2D molecule, borophene, just like graphene. Also strong, super conductive, also sharp. Haven't heard if nanobots self-assemble it. Some of you, I'm not going to go into it today, but some of you have heard about how graphene oxide might be making it into people's bloodstreams from an outside injectable source. And the alternative community loves to push boron as if it's helping to prevent problems from these injectable substances. And it may be making things much worse. If it's being pushed hard by the mainstream conventional or the mainstream alternative, like they're telling you to take borax. If you don't know, long-term research in animals shows that boron induces infertility. What do I tell you that they want? The bad guys, they want infertility. So what do we have? A lot of people who assume things. They're like, oh, it's a mineral. Boron's not essential. Boron's not an essential mineral. Never has been. But they'll be like, oh, it's just a mineral. It's good for you. Some people say you need it for osteoporosis and to use magnesium, da-da-da-da-da. And I go, long-term, it causes infertility. And it's not an essential mineral. And they're telling you to take mega doses and you're going to mess yourself up and you're going to regret it. When I used to take boron at normal doses, I used to wake up as stiff as a 90-year-old. I could hardly bend over to unload the dishwasher. Boron is not your friend. It's not fixing anything. It's not essential. And yet they're telling you to take it in the form of borax. That won't end well. Just like the ivermectin and the hydroxychloroquine won't end well. So, Leonard, Bar asks, hey, Dr. Smith, what do you think about R-alpha lipoic acid, oral or IV? Thanks a lot. It's an antioxidant. It's a sulfur-based compound. I would not, if you use it, it's purely Band-Aid or crutches in terms of what it does. It is not something that I regularly use or advise. I personally don't touch it anymore. I don't use sulfur-based supplements, including magnesium sulfate. Magnesium sulfate, I'll have actually here. Let me get this link right here. Hydrogen sulfide, just so you know, hydrogen sulfide is going to be the next PSYOP, where they're going to tell you that you need hydrogen sulfide. It's healthy for you and it's good for you. And, certain hydrogen sulfide amounts lead to longevity and all this stuff. They're lying to you. It's a toxic gas. It's what they add to natural gas so that when you have a leak, you smell it. That rotten egg smell. Like, first of all, just think about it. Is that rotten egg smell a good smell? Do you like it? No, you intuitively reject it. You don't like it. Here we go. Hydrogen sulfide toxicity in the gut environment. Oh, so it has to do with your biome. Meta-analysis of sulfate-reducing and lactic acid bacteria in inflammatory processes. Let me read that second part again. Meta-analysis of sulfate-reducing and lactic acid bacteria, that would be like lactobacillus typically, in inflammatory processes. Let me get this link and put it over here on my other screen, and then I can turn off this screen. There it is. Okay. Off that computer screen, so save my eyes a little bit, right? So let's go over the important things here. Highlights. Sulfate-reducing bacteria are the main producer of hydrogen sulfide in the gut. Let me read that again. Sulfate-reducing bacteria are the main producer of hydrogen sulfide in the gut. Hydrogen sulfide, if you ever get the sulfur farts, the egg farts, you're making hydrogen sulfide in your gut. Some people like to use Epsom salts, which is magnesium sulfate. If we are assuming that you are absorbing the magnesium from that, you are also absorbing the sulfate, which means you're sending sulfate potentially to your gut bacteria to reduce it into hydrogen sulfide. What's the next line in the highlights? High concentrations of hydrogen sulfide are involved in gut inflammation. Wonder why I don't recommend Epsom salts. Lactic acid bacteria can be sensitive to hydrogen sulfide. Oh, so you could kill your lactic acid bacteria off by making too much hydrogen sulfide by feeding the sulfate-reducing bacteria too much sulfate. Meta-analysis revealed a relationship between gut inflammation and sulfate-reducing bacteria. The background. Hydrogen sulfide is the final product of sulfate-reducing bacteria metabolism. Its high concentration in the gut can affect adversely bowel environment and intestinal microbiota by toxicity and pH lowering. Your intestines are not supposed to be low pH. Your intestines are supposed to be more on the alkaline side. Your stomach's supposed to be acidic. Your intestines are more alkaline. Here we go. So listen to this. Oppositely from sulfate-reducing bacteria, probiotic properties of lactic acid bacteria are effective inhibitors against inflammatory bowel disease development, including ulcerative colitis. Oh, let's go down here. Sulfide. Here, let me just read this one part. Sulfate-reducing bacteria, SRB, is also representing fascinating property. These are not native English speakers. Is also representing fascinating property of nature since it can survive in very unique and unfavorable environments. They are influencing both positively and negatively in numerous ways, terrestrial as in earthbound and marine ecosystems. Sulfide reacts with organic and inorganic compounds, causing much damage in industries. So it's damaging stuff in various industries. If you think of the human body like a car, I do a lot of analogies with cars, you start to understand that this stuff is just toxic. And let me just do this one more paragraph. Sulfate-reducing bacteria are also present in the gastrointestinal tract of humans and animals. Yeah, like we all have candida in our gut. We all have E. coli in our gut. We all have good and bad bacteria, but not everybody's having problems with them because sometimes people stop feeding the beast and the beast starts to starve. Here we go. They can significantly influence the gut environment since they are producing hydrogen sulfide, and at the same time, they are competing for nutrients. Hydrogen sulfide interferes in the colonocytes, the cells of your colon, with metabolic processed, and it damages the intestinal mucosa. Consequently, sulfate-reducing bacteria can be a cause for the initiation of the inflammation that can lead to bowel diseases such as ulcerative colitis. And there's 5 references after that. So, there are some people out there who are not in my group anymore who worry about sulfate, and they want to use magnesium sulfate, and then they wonder why they need mega doses of things like B12, which B12 binds to hydrogen sulfide, and they don't want to accept the fact that supplementing magnesium sulfate topically through your skin via baths and eating high sulfur foods, it gets reduced to hydrogen sulfide in your gut, and then it causes irritation and inflammation. That hydrogen sulfide can be absorbed, and then it goes into your bloodstream. And you definitely need molybdenum in proper amounts to help with your sulfur metabolism. I do not use Epsom salts for anything. Maybe you could use them in your garden. That's about it. I do not use them. We use magnesium chloride or other forms of magnesium. We do not use magnesium sulfate. But if you want to make more hydrogen sulfide, that's cool. I mean, go ahead. I'm not advising it. Oh, we're at 12:05. I got to wrap it up here. Let me just see if there's anything else. Just Andy was saying, so they should be called bile pump inhibitors and not protein pump inhibitors. Kinda, yeah. Let me see. You guys really had some good chats. Tommy asks, I'm going to end with this one. This is the last question. Well, let me see if I missed any super chats. I don't think. Maybe I did. Maybe I didn't. Let's see. Ramon says, a super chat. Thank you, Ramon. He says, as you listen to Dr. Smith, the more docs you unfollow. Okay, I'll take responsibility for that. It's so, you want to know the funniest thing is when people ask me, Dr. Smith, do you follow this person? Do you follow this person? Do you follow this person? And I go, no, I don't follow anybody. If you want to know which YouTube channels I follow some interesting ones, but they're mainly related to Christianity and let's just say the times of the end. There's Jacob Israel. There's Donut Factory, DOENUT, the Donut Factory. There's what is it? End Times Revelations, I think is one of the guys. There's God Rules. There's On Point Preparedness. He's brilliant. He's great. But yeah, I don't follow other health people. I fell out of that a long time ago. They all just regurgitate. They're either mainstream alternative or mainstream conventional, and they just regurgitate what each other say. I think it's hilarious how Saladino's getting reamed by the other carnivore people as the fruity honey guy now. It's pretty funny. But John gave a super chat. What's with the orange stapler? Okay, John, you need to get out there and watch your movies more. This is a red swing line stapler. Somebody in the chat, tell them what this is related to. Okay. One of my favorite movies of all time. So let me see. I'll let some people comment on that. I want to, there's the line at the end of the movie. I'll put cyanide in the guacamole. So yes, Will said, yeah, Office Space. Yes, it is Office Space. If you haven't seen Office Space, I love that movie. I own that movie. One of my favorites. Yes. So, yep. That's why I have. It is my stapler. It's a working stapler. I saw it in I was going through Office Max or Office Depot one day, and they had it was the special Office Space edition. And I just saw it, and I was like, I'm buying it. It was one of those I'm buying this stapler right here, right now, and have it. And it is my stapler. I just put it up there for the people who get it. It's one of those. Yeah, Idiocracy, as Will said, Idiocracy is a great one to watch. For those of you who still wear Crocs, I'm sorry, but you should learn about the story. Just go look up Idiocracy and Crocs because they totally go together. They were trying to find a shoe that was not well known to be worn by the idiots in Idiocracy, and they came up with Crocs was in a startup, or so what's the startup websites where you can contribute money and buy it to help it get started. Something starter, Kickstarter, Kickstarter. They had a Kickstarter for it. And they used it in the movie, and now all of a sudden, as we go further and further into the Idiocracy, now we have everybody wearing Crocs, and it's just blows my mind. I see kids out trying to play basketball in Crocs, and I'm like, what is wrong with kids these days? My goodness. So anyway, that's all I got. I got to go do my inner circle now, folks. Yeah, Hope says they're terrible for your feet. Yeah, Office Space, not The Office. I mean, The Office is funny. If you're going to watch the American Office, you have to watch the British Office first. But Office Space is what led. I don't know. I don't know if it led to The Office, but Office Space is brilliant. Then watch Idiocracy. Then if you want to watch The Office, watch the Office first. Then watch the American one. That's my pop culture thing of today. And a lot of it's about just the idiocy of working in offices, working in cubicle factories, all that stuff. So, yeah, I used to have some Crocs too, William. Somebody bought them for me, and I wore them a little bit, and I did not like them at all. Now I have some Sanuks that are they're basically house slippers. So anyway, okay, y'all have a great day. Remember nutritiondetective.com or the madness of modern nutrition. If you want more, there's all my social media down below. Sorry, I'm shaking my desk. Yeah, we're here Mondays, 10 a.m. This was 110 episodes in a row. We haven't missed. So, gosh, I must be doing something right somewhere. So anyway, have a great week. I'll see you next Monday. Bye now.